Great. Well, good morning, John.
Good morning, Holly. How are you?
Good, good. So we're here today to celebrate the 140th anniversary of the American Red Cross. So what does that kind of mean for you? What stands out kind of in our long storied history?
Holly, it's great to see you here today, and I'm amazed if you think about the legacy that Clara Barton had. As we sit at 140 years back, if you start with bandaging our military in the Civil War, and thinking about where the Red Cross has gone from then to the impact that it has in society today is just incredible for me. I know my fellow board members are really proud of what we do here in Massachusetts with the Red Cross and what the Red Cross does nationally.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing history. And it started right here in Massachusetts.
It is hard to believe that Clara Barton actually born here in central Massachusetts. So Clara was from North Oxbridge. I think you've said you and some of the executive team have actually been out there to see the legacy that she left. And the Red Cross, really born from the roots of here in our state in Massachusetts, makes such a difference when you think about services to the armed forces, when you think about blood supply. Here we are at the Dedham Blood Services Center. If you think about disaster, if you think about volunteerism and how we help, and some of the other ancillary services like food pantries or other things that we do in our community.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. We have a really long, deep history, and over the last 14, 15 months, during the pandemic, the Red Cross also has really kind of stepped up. We've continued to be able to deliver our vital services, our Boston Food Pantry that has served, more than double the number of people that it typically serves. All of our disaster services. Last year was the busiest kind of disaster season on record in U.S. history, and we continue to provide support to the military families. And then we did some additional things over this past year as well, kind of specific to COVID. We've been doing feeding missions at the beginning of the pandemic, and most recently we've been helping out with the vaccination clinics and the vaccination equity clinics, and making sure that the veterans get vaccinated. So just a ton of amazing work, and our volunteers have really stepped up and really leaned in. As you know, 94% of our workforce here in Massachusetts are volunteers, so we depend on them like no other organization does, and we're always looking for new volunteers to kind of join us as well.
No, Holly, it's incredible as we think about being socially distanced, wearing our masks. We've gotten used to over the last year and a quarter to work in this unusual environment. The Red Cross has had volunteers be thoughtful about their health and safety, but then also go out and work. I know you went to Houston, and you and your executive team have volunteered in many different ways, thinking about their own safety, but thinking about others first. And that's an incredible part of the Red Cross, that, as you say, the volunteers of the Red Cross try and help where society needs that help.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be prouder. The team that we have, the volunteers and our employees, they are just gems, like truly biggest hearts, and just really talented, skilled people who are there to kind of serve people in need. And again, how people have stepped up over the last year has really, really been amazing.
Yes.
So what do you think about, as we look forward, right, for the next 100 years, what do you think some of the big things are for the Red Cross?
Holly, I think continuing the spirit of volunteerism is one of the most important things that we do, and it's people both volunteering their time or in investing money into the Red Cross to try and do something. I work for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I would tell you one of the things that we're collaborating with the Red Cross around is around ESG, and really focused on diversity and inclusion and what we're thinking about, but pivoting a bit to sustainability. I think as the Red Cross thinks about disaster planning, disaster recovery, and the things that we do, how do we fit into that sustainability model? And society at large is trying to think about how do we care for our environment. While always important, there's a renewed focus as we look at industrialization and trying to think through what do we leave behind when we're trying to help with disaster planning or other things that the Red Cross does. So I think that ESG component is one of them. Being on the board, the third element of ESG is around governance, and I think thinking about what's the role that our board plays to make sure that we continue to ensure that the Red Cross, as a large national organization, invests in the right way here in Massachusetts.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe for those who aren't familiar with what ESG stands for, would you mind just kind of sharing kind of what that acronym stands for?
Sure. So it's environmental, social responsibility, and governance. So trying to think about the environment, try and think about social equity and what we're doing with diversity, and making sure that we have representation from our society in what we do, and then governance, really trying to think through how do we govern an entity to be thoughtful of the environment, inclusion, et cetera.
Yeah, thanks for that. And that, climate change, I think also, definitely kind of top of mind for the American Red Cross. You know, we have continued to respond to the big disasters and small disasters kind of around the country, and with the frequency and severity of the storms that we've all been experiencing kind of in recent years, that is expected to continue. So, the Red Cross will be there, right? And we're going to continue to prepare people to respond to those, and then be there for people who are impacted by them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I can't remember how we're supposed to close this.
Well, Holly, I've just been really excited to spend some time with you and to think about the next 140 years. And while you and I may not be here for all those next 140 years, we certainly are helping with the legacy and where the Red Cross is going. So thank you for everything that you do and your executive team does. The board couldn't be prouder of what we do and the involvement that we all have in our different roles.
Great. Well, thank you, John, for your leadership. You and the regional boards and the chapter boards across the Massachusetts region are absolutely critical kind of to our leadership and providing leadership, as well as kind of our amazing kind of workforce. So thank you. And here's to another 140.
Cheers. Look forward to it. Thank you.